The ACC continually disrespects its bigger brands, and there was no exception to this on Saturday night when Florida State took the field at Carter-Finley Stadium. Hey guys, TJ Pittenger. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Before we even get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button underneath, thumbs up the video, and of course, always share your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. Now, I want to preface the video by saying this is not the sole reason FSU lost. There's a lot of blame to go around, and you can click on this video right here above me to watch that, talk about that at length on the main podcast this week. But what we're going to talk about does materially alter the probabilities of a Florida State win. It's also not an FSU-only issue, as Clemson and Miami and others struggle with it as well. The officiating in this conference is some of the worst in the NCAA, and they continually seem to screw over their bigger brands, whereas the SEC almost seems to protect their bigger brands and calls go the way of the Alabamas and the Georgias and other premier programs there. This doesn't happen in the ACC. It's almost like they're trying to level the playing field and even it out, and 50-50 calls seem to go to the smaller brand time after time after time after time. Teams are in fear. Fan bases are enraged when they see someone like Jeff Flanagan is going to be the crew chief of the officials for their game. And again, there was no exception to this on Saturday night at Carter-Finley. Guys, I want to speak to one thing. This is a really difficult topic to broach because it's traditionally considered a little disrespectful to your opponent to blame a game on refs. But the main reason that crappy officials are allowed to continue is the point here. Officials should be held accountable. They should be reviewed independently. They should be suspended and fired for making bad calls, just like professional athletes are. If you throw a certain number of interceptions, the team's going to bench you. If you're a coach and you lose a certain number of games, the team's going to fire you. And so the same should be said for our officials. This isn't a one-game issue. I did some research into Jeff Flanagan. There are message board threads that go back decades with direct evidence of how much Flanagan and his crew have made horrible bias refereeing mistakes against FSU. Shout out to Knowles247. I'll link some threads below in the comments that you guys can check out. Let's look at some of the calls from this past Saturday. Let's get your thoughts. Hey, whether you agree or disagree here, take a moment and tell me your thoughts in the comments. Again, prefacing the whole thing, this is not the only reason FSU lost, but it was a big part of this story on Saturday night. First of all, I want to look at this play that happens with about 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. If we start rolling the tape, you can see a rush come in and an absolute mauling by their left tackle of our edge rusher. I thought Warner had him beat, and you can absolutely see his hand inside the jersey there. NC State ends up completing a pass here and getting into FSU territory, but just a blatant misholding call here early in the game. NC State later scores on this drive to take a 3-0 lead. Obviously, this is an early call. Florida State had a chance to recover from this and did, led for most of the game, but it was a microcosm of what we would see the rest of the night. We move on. The next one that I want to look at comes with NC State currently in the lead. Happens with about 13:08 to go. And as we see, Leary takes the snap in shotgun, comes back, and Jared Verse just gets absolutely pulled down. Now, Leary is able to escape the sack. Verse almost makes the sack even with this. And Leary scrambles off to his left, picks up a few yards. But again, no holding call. I pause it here to show you the hand inside of Verse's shoulder pad. It even looks like he's slightly about to make contact with the face mask. I don't know if he does there or not. That'd be really tough to see from the official that was kind of on the right side. But you can see the left arm of the official that's behind the play on the left, bottom left corner of the screen. He's completely missing this. This isn't even close. Verse gets taken down to the ground. Leary scrambles, and they pick up yardage. Next, we look at Pittman's touchdown catch. Now, fortunately, he was able to make a great catch, but another missed call, and a missed call nonetheless. Ball's thrown up to Pittman. You could see the defender with his arm around Pittman there on the left side. No call. Pittman makes an incredible catch. His arm's being pinned down due to the defender holding him down, both from the front and the back. Pittman makes a great catch. The Noles score to go up 7-3, but it doesn't change the fact that the call was missed. Here on the reverse angle, you can see it even better. The defender has his arm blanketing Pittman, clearly holding on there to his front. You can see his hand on the hip there before the ball gets there. Florida State gets fortunate here that Pittman makes a great play, but a missed DPI nonetheless. We fast forward a little bit to the third quarter. This was probably the most egregious and most impactful play and call of the game. Before we even get to what I want to talk about with the pretty rough penalty here, I do want to notice that Jared Verse is getting held on this play. This is the roughing the passer play that a lot of people have complained about for the entire day. I think there were two bad calls here. One's a call of omission, one's a call of commission. But obviously, I don't like the roughing the passer call. I think that the hit comes in while Leary has the ball. The hit literally happens in a great spot. Warner didn't go high. He didn't go low. He went at his shoulders. He didn't launch into him, and he just kind of hit him hard. I think that was a fine play. But as you can see, Verse is literally being held. And if we pause it right here, there is legitimately a hand inside of his shoulder pad right there. You can see it paused. And on this side, we go back to the late hit. The personal foul. And I just don't agree with the call. He hits him high. He doesn't hit him high. He hits him in his shoulder pad. If he goes any lower than that, it's going to be called going low. He couldn't go any higher because it would have been hitting him in the helmet. I thought this was just a bad call overall. Florida State ends up giving up a field goal on this drive. This was worth 3 points. And, first drive penalty was worth 3 points. This penalty here was worth 3 points. Here later, the backup quarterback is in. There's 2:55 left to go in the third quarter. And he's running. And I think that this is a nice play. I actually thought Verse would get to him on the angle there, but he doesn't. But look down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Number 11, the wide receiver on that side, is blatantly holding the defender. Clear hold that we'll pause and zoom in on. And absolutely no call. You can see him turning his shoulder pad there. Look at the way his body is angled. The defender would not naturally turn himself that way. There's a ref behind it. No call. Don't see it. First down, Wolfpack. Again, 3 points on this drive. It's the same drive that the personal foul happened on. So here's a couple that actually do get called. Defensive end just absolutely gets tackled there. They call the penalty on it. Here's the next one where Verse gets tackled. Dragged down to the ground. Absolutely sumo wrestled. They call this one. But then the very next play on the 3rd and 40, I thought they missed one more hold here. They called them 2 in a row and maybe just didn't want to call a third one at this point. But if you watch right here, look at the linebacker. Just absolutely getting held here. I zoomed in on it so you could see. Look at that. Absolutely getting mauled. Both hands around him from behind. Getting held. Now they only get 7 yards here. So maybe not a huge play, but they did kick another field goal here. And so worth 3 points? Probably. Just talking on the ACC's incompetence here, I don't know how you missed this in live time and how that's not obviously launching into somebody's head. Benson does get back up, ends up being okay. They do throw the flag, they do throw the targeting, and the kid gets ejected. But I don't know how you missed that in live time. All in all, a frustrating performance by the Noles. A frustrating performance by the officials too, though. I don't know if the outcome is any different. And I know that refs are human and they're going to miss calls, but they're just missing blatant things that I think are inexcusable. The Noles shot themselves in the foot enough in this game to where I don't think it's blatantly on just the refs. But man, they surely didn't get any help out with it. When you look at other teams like Alabama and Georgia and premier team, Ohio State, premier teams in their conferences don't seem to always just root for the little guy. And that's what seems to happen in the ACC. Happens with Clemson, happens with Miami, happens with other big brands as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, this is not the only reason Florida State lost, but some pretty damning evidence that the calls were just terrible on Saturday. I think the faster we can get out of this conference, probably the better. Hopefully that's something that Alfred gets done soon. But frustrating to see and in a game that you should have won either way, officiating or not. Florida State shot themselves in the foot enough. But frustrating to see that there were that many calls that directly led to NC State scores. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree, disagree, what your comments and thoughts are. Again, if you missed yesterday's podcast where I blamed everybody but the officials, you can go and listen to me blame everyone else if you think it wasn't on them. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out. We'll be back again with more content, more videos, more stuff for you guys. Thank you again. Go Noles.